Hey. This is Shit Show, awful stories told by not awful musicians and music industry professionals about the shitty situations they get into.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much again for checking us out and tuning in to Shit Show. This is episode 3, where we're going to be talking to Doug Goodman, who is a tour manager for bands like Jane's Addiction and Smashing Pumpkins. So many great bands. Few things real quick. We are on Spotify now, so please like it. Please share with your friends, share with your enemies, share with anyone that you care or don't care about. Also, I'm in Nashville right now when I'm doing the editing of this episode. And sadly, Eric is not with me. I've been out here doing some stuff for our management. And this episode with Doug Goodman, I recorded many years ago and didn't realize that there's so much information in this particular episode that I had to break it up into 2 different parts. So this is technically episode 3, part 1. So thanks again for checking it out. Please let us know what you think. We have listed our email address so that you can get to us and let us know if there's someone in particular you think we should talk to. Until then, thanks again. Let's kick this off. Let's hit the music!
Tour managing band.
Tour managing DRI. We're in Spain. We're touring with a Spanish band whose name escapes me, but I feel like it had the word beer in it.
It was that common over there, like the name of
It's like Beer Mouse or Beer House.
Beer Mouse.
No, but because I'm arguably autistic, according to my wife, is certainly on the spectrum somewhere. No offense to those of you who actually are listening to this, because I actually am too. Because I have a list of every concert I've ever been to in my entire life.
Oh my God.
I think I've probably noted if the band got arrested or not.
Oh my God, you have like a spreadsheet. He's going through his
There
computer
we go.
right now with this massive spreadsheet.
All right, so we're on tour with Beer Mosh. See, I told
Beer
you it had
Mosh.
beer in the name.
Beer Mosh.
So we played in Monzón, Spain, at a place called the Recinto Ferial.
Oh my God,
If you speak Spanish, you could read that.
I can't even see it.
Yeah, well.
My eyes are that bad already.
So it's DRI, a band called Unbound Terror, and Beer Mosh. So after the show, the guys go out.
How did the show go on that one?
I'm sure it went well. The DRI shows were generally pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, this is like 93, so I mean
they're crushing.
Yeah, they're doing well. I mean, they're headlining, places that you've heard, SO36 in
Berlin, Hamburg.
That's a real gig.
Hell yeah.
Longhorn in Stuttgart, that's a real gig. Crash in Freiburg. Yeah, these are all like real gigs.
Yeah,
Much.
this is a good tour.
The Milkweg in Amsterdam. Have you guys toured Europe at all?
Yeah, we just did Europe, but we didn't go to the
Milkweg would be a place that you went to. That's Dutch for Milky Way.
Oh, cool.
And last time I was there was to see Danko Jones.
Oh, killer.
Fantastic. I took George Lopez.
Really? That's who you've been working
George
with lately.
is a huge rocker. George loves rock bands. I thought that he would maybe stay, but most people, it's like, yeah, he stayed for the whole thing after the show. Like him and Danko, follow each other on Facebook and shit now. So.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, so we do the show in Monzón, however you say that, in Spain. After the show, the guys go out, they're drinking. The opening act is from there, and this is like some little town in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
So middle of the night, we're on the bus, we're sleeping on the bus, and those of us who were I didn't go out with them because I don't drink. I have no interest in going out with the band. So we hear people running to the bus, and like running, like there's something happening. People running to the bus, banging on the side of the bus to open it up, and they get in, they climb in, they run in the bus, they all jump in their bunks, and then there's more people running towards the bus, and they're yelling in Spanish.
Oh no!
And I'm on the bus. I don't remember who exactly was on the bus, but me and Kurt were definitely on the bus, the lead singer.
Right.
Kurt didn't go on it. Kurt speaks Spanish.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, coincidentally, but in a good way. So everyone's hiding in their bunks, and there's these people outside yelling at us in Spanish, and I start to get up, and I'm like, I get up, go to the door, and there's like Spanish police, blah, 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 blah in Spanish, and I don't speak a fucking word of Spanish. So I go, Kurt, help me. What are they saying? And he says, fuck those guys, meaning the rest of the band. I'm like, dude, you got to tell me what they're saying. He goes, they want everybody who broke the glass to come back, to come outside.
Oh, no.
So evidently they broke like a couple streetlights or something in their drunken revelry. So, and he curses in his bunk. He's not getting out of his bunk. And
So he's just translating.
yeah, he's translating from his bunk.
Oh
and
my.
he's like, all you fuckers who did whatever you did, they're not leaving until you get out. And so they take 3 of the 4 band. They take the rest of the band away. They take Spike, the guitar player. They take, I think John was probably the bass player at that point. They take, I think that's Rob as the drummer. I think this is after Felix, but I could be wrong. So yeah, they take 3 of the 4 band members away. So the next day, I get a guy. Kurt refuses to act as translator. So I get the guy from the hotel, because we had like a hotel room like for showers or something.
Right.
So I get the guy from the hotel to help figure out what's going on. So it ends up that they broke the stuff and they're keeping them. They're not letting them out. We have a show. We're supposed to have a show that night in Barcelona, and with
The next night, right?
Yeah. So we need to go to Barcelona. So it does. They're not letting them out of jail. So
they get arrested, right?
Yeah.
They walk out of the bus and they get arrested.
They take them away, put them in handcuffs, take them away. So then I go up to I thought I was going to the police station, but it ends up that it's a prison. It's like castle-y kind of vibe place. And this is back in the days before like camera phones and stuff, so I don't have pictures of it. I'm not a guy who takes pictures, but I certainly would have taken a picture of that. Yeah, so they're at a prison in Spain. And I go in, and the guy, the warden, chief of police guy, offers me a drink from the bar that he has in his office. Note the irony of drunken people in jail, and he's offering me a drink. And I'm like, no, I don't drink. So they're going to have a trial, but they can't have the trial until, because they don't speak Spanish, they can't have the trial until the translator gets there, and the translator isn't going to be here for 3 days. So this guy speaks a little bit of English. He speaks enough that we can communicate, but he can't be the translator because he's the police. So I work it out so that the guy from the hotel can act as our translator, even though he barely speaks English. But it's better than waiting 3 days because we have
to get going.
We have so this is on the 20th. Yeah, it's on the 20th. We're supposed to have a show in Barcelona on the 21st. We're supposed to have a show in Madrid on the 22nd. And then we're flying on the 23rd to JFK so that we can fly on the 24th to Tokyo because we have a show in Osaka on the 27th. None of us have ever been to Japan before.
So you have the 3 days you should be in America.
Yeah. So by the time a translator gets there, we are only flying JFK because it's cheaper to fly. There's a way to get to Japan from Spain, but it's more expensive. We're a punk rock band. You
fly to JFK.
You do whatever's the cheapest. And if the cheapest means flying to New York so you can have a 12-hour layover so you can fly to Japan,
that's what you're doing.
That's what you do. So we work it out. They have a little trial, whatever. Everybody pleads guilty. They pay some sort of fine. It wasn't that much. Everybody gets out. At this point, we've canceled the Barcelona show. Well, ultimately, we play Barcelona the next night. So we've moved the Barcelona show to the next night. We cancel Madrid, which is supposed to be the next night.
Right.
And because the Barcelona show is a bigger show. So we cancel Madrid completely. We play Barcelona the next day.
Right.
They still have their passports, though.
The police.
They haven't released the passports. They've released the guys, but they haven't released the passport. So the next day, I drive back to Monzón, which is 175 miles away,
to pick up
the passports with the promoter rep guy from Barcelona. So we get the passports, drive back to Barcelona so that we can fly to Heathrow, so that we can fly to New York, and
be able to get to Japan.
Yeah, so our flights are actually from Madrid, supposed to be from Madrid. So, and this is, like I said, this is pre-internet, pre-mobile phone, 1993. It's, stuff's more old school. So we go to the airport. We're super late. We've got merch with us. We've got guitars. We've got shit the punk rock bands have with them. And if this is today, it's done. Like, we missed our flight. It's over. It's impossible. They won't let you check in now. 59 minutes and 58 seconds, you're fucked.
Yeah, it's done.
Take the next flight. Okay, well, so it's less than an hour to the flight. I run into the airport, and I said, I'm flying. I'm supposed to fly from Madrid to Heathrow to New York. I was in a car accident, and we couldn't get to Madrid, but I was able to get back here. I know there's a flight from here that gets to Heathrow in time that I can make. I couldn't get to Madrid in time. I can get to this flight. This will get me to my connection. If I don't get to my connection, I can't get to New York. Once I get to New York, I'm flying to Japan. Domino effect. It all falls apart. I need to get on this plane. And the girl is like, oh, yes, we will do what we, basically she says yes. I said, great, they're with me.
I'll buy all 6 of these people.
So meanwhile, when I left, or not even meanwhile, prior to this, when I left to go get the passports, Kurt didn't get arrested, the singer.
Right.
He has his passport.
Yeah, he's fine.
I say to Kurt, I said, I gave him some float. I said, he's like, what's this for? I go, when you get to New York, because he's going to make the flight. When you get to New York, this is so you'll have some. I'll catch up because we could get to Japan in time, but we had to fly different routings.
Right.
I go, if I can't get back in time with the passports, then we'll meet you in Japan.
Right, you just go.
And he's like, so I'm handing him money, and he's like, I don't want that. And it's like, well, what are you gonna do for expenses? He goes, if I don't see you fuckers in Heathrow, I'm not going.
Well, okay.
He goes, hey, fuck off. I've got friends in London. I'm going to go visit my friends in London. Or maybe I'll go to New York. I don't know, but I'm not going. Fuck them. I'm not going to Japan without them. I'm not leaving, meeting you there. It's not going to happen. And I'm like,
dude, please, just play ball with me right now, please.
Nothing else to worry about, but my lead singer basically is telling me he's quitting.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So we got back and Kurt was, then we all flew together.
So it worked out, but that was...
Happily ever after.
Oh my God. How did... being this was like kind of pre... real smartphone or anything.
Everything. None of that
how did you even get to the airport? It was just out of her knowing that there's enough space on the plane, or she was just like, yeah, we can...
Oh, well, I knew there was a flight because, I had time. They were in jail for the day, so I had time to map it all out, dealing with it.
Oh.
It was like, okay, we're going to get the hotel guy to be a translator. We're going to have the thing at whatever time. And then, but they're going to let them out. If they let them out, they'll let them out. But the passports are you have to come back for the passport. So I kind of knew about it.
Right.
So
you had made a game plan.
Yeah. So I had made a game plan of what was happening and whether or not we were going to go. At one point, we were going to go to Madrid, but it took us so long to get the passports that we had to come back to Barcelona.
Oh my!
And
God.
I had just sort of planned for my, plan one was to catch our plane in Madrid like we were supposed to.
Right.
But once
happening.
we got to a point where we, because you're sitting there in the fucking, it's a prison.
Right.
It's like going to DMV. Hey, I'm in a hurry. And they look at you like, whatever.
Yeah, this is it. So
they got me the passports when they felt like it was worthy of me to be handed passports. And I'm sure they were sitting right there the whole fucking time I was there.
Right.
But, eventually they handed them to me. And who knows? They may have known my schedule as well as I knew my schedule. They might have just been fucking with me. I think I did that at the Canadian border one time.
Yeah, really?
When we were driving into Vancouver, or we're going to Victoria. Have you ever been to Victoria? You have to take, just after you cross the border, there's this town called Tawasin, I think. That's where the ferry leaves to go to Victoria Island.
Mm-hmm. And
we pulled in and, we're doing whatever we're doing, an immigration guy, and they're searching and whatever. And the guy says, so you're catching the, 2 p.m. ferry. And I was like, yeah, in theory. And he's like, oh, there's no one at 3. Why don't you guys come in? Like, they purposely let us miss our ferry just because they can.
Yeah.
Because that's what border guys do, because that's their
zero
little
control.
Yeah. Yeah. They know that you're totally screwed, So, but the key, like, to the border is just, like, they're in control and they know it and you know it, but you don't have to let them know that you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, hey man, fucking I don't care. Search us all day.
Yeah.
We don't have to be there until, we don't ever have to be there really.
Yeah.
It's like we would like to go there. There's a bunch of people there who would like us to come, but whatever. It's up
That's
to
fine,
you,
man. Yeah.
It's like,
That's how we always roll into Canada. It's like, hey,
I play dumb
search
guy.
it.
I still to this day play dumb guy. Last time I was up there with James, they brought us all in. And we're all sitting there, and everyone's kind of, kind of goofing around like bands do.
Right.
And the guy comes out, and he goes, "We have an issue," and we're like, "Okay." And he goes, 3 passports have cocaine residue on them. And a couple of the guys are like, oh, and I was like, what? And Navarro started laughing. It's not funny, sir. And he goes, no, actually, it kind of is funny because there certainly could be residue on those on my passport, but it certainly wouldn't be cocaine. He's like, you need to get your residue straight before you claim stuff.
Yeah, before you start accusing.
Yeah, because there isn't any. Because the whole purpose of that is just to make us go, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, confess to something. It's just like, and find some band that's been around for a year. We've been around for 30 years. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't care about playing this fucking show anyway.
You know? Yeah, screw it. We don't care.
But that's the thing. That's their thing. It's just the power they have over you for the moments that they have it.
Oh my gosh.
You know? It's like, I've tortured border guys.
Well, arguably, was that the last time you worked with DRI?
No, I don't think so. Oh, it might have been, actually. We went to Japan. That was my second date with my wife.
Oh.
Or no, we went to Japan, and then we went to Hawaii. That was my second date with my wife. In the middle of all this taking place, I'm inviting my girlfriend at the time, who's not really my girlfriend. We had gone on one date. We went to dinner. I invited her to Hawaii.
Oh.
And she said to me on the payphone call that probably cost me a fortune, I said, would you like to go to Hawaii? And she goes, you get all nervous, your girlfriend, you went out to dinner once, she had a good time, I think maybe she likes you, and you like her, and like, hey, you want to go out a second time? So, but my second date was, hey, do you want to go to Hawaii? And so, it takes a little bit of something to get you to utter the sentence,
right?
And then you're like, oh my God, now what's going to happen?
I just said that.
So she goes, well, of course I want to go to Hawaii. And you're like, cool. And she goes, the question is, do I want to go with you?
Oh!
And I go, well, do you? And she goes, I don't know. You have to convince me. So I never brought it up again, but I did send her a ticket.
Well, that's good convince.
So then we got to Hawaii and landed in Hawaii from this after Japan. While we're in Japan, I met my wife when she worked for DRI's record label.
Oh, she did?
She worked for Rotten Records. She did like radio promo for Rotten Records. So between when I met her, like this is the end of March, beginning of April, I met her Halloween night at the Ventura Theater up in Ventura at a DRI Testament show. And it was the first show on the tour.
Killer show.
Yeah, so in the middle of that time, she had quit or been fired, depending on whether you ask the guy who owned the label or whether you ask her. I tend to believe her since I ultimately married her. So we're in Japan, and I'm sharing a room with the guy who claims to have fired the girl who everyone has sort of an inkling that we're kind of getting together, but isn't positive. And he comes to the room one evening, at some point, he comes to the room, knocks on the door, I open the door, and there's the manager standing there, and he's tall, he's like 6'5", 6'6", he's got this tiny little Japanese girl with him, and he's like, dude, I need the room. And I go, where am I going to go? And he's like, go hang out with Dude. We had a guy in the crew whose name was The Dude.
The Dude?
I called him Kevin, but everyone else called him The Dude. I hang out with The Dude. I was like, I don't want to fucking hang out with Kevin. And they're like, no offense, Kevin. So he's like, come on. And I go, okay, under one condition. And he goes, what's that? I go, there's a rumor that Michelle's coming to Hawaii. He's like, that fucking bitch is going to Hawaii. I go, probably not. But if she does appear in Hawaii, you have to be nice to her. And he looks at this little girl and looks at me. What if I'm not? I go, if you're not, then I pay myself an extra week's salary.
Ooh.
And he's like, looks at her again. He goes, so let me see if I get this straight. You might bring this fucking bitch to Hawaii, and if you do, I have to be nice to her. And if I'm not, then you're going to pay yourself an extra week's salary. And you make the decision as to whether I'm nice. I go, yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay. So
done deal.
We get to Hawaii, check in the hotel, get them in. I go back to the airport with a runner, pick up a rental car, go park it, go into the gate, because that's the back of days when you can go to the gate.
Right.
And the last time I talked to Michelle before that, I said, she said, I got this really strange thing in the mail, because this is back in days you couldn't talk every day because it cost a fucking fortune. She goes, I got this really strange thing in the mail. And I go, what's that? She goes, I got a ticket to Hawaii. And I go, really? I go, I'm going to Hawaii. When are you going to Hawaii? She goes, I go, maybe I'll see you there. She goes, I don't think I'm going to go. My mom needs a vacation. I think I'm going to give the ticket to her. And I go, oh, maybe I'll see your mom. And that was the last time we talked about it. Her mom didn't get off the plane. Luckily, because I didn't know her mom, I wouldn't have recognized her, but she did. And then, yeah, so that was our second date.
Wow, in Hawaii.
In Hawaii for a week, and then because we had hotels for a week as part of the deal. And then when we flew home from Hawaii, the ticket I bought her was Honolulu. She lived in L.A. It was L.A. to Honolulu, Honolulu to L.A. to San Francisco. Because I was flying back to San Francisco, and my plan all along was to bring her with me. So, and she was like, I don't know why there's this extra ticket to San Francisco. So then at the airport when we left, I forget what airline she was on. I was on a different airline, and they were on the opposite ends of the terminal, though. And I got the airline that she was on and the airline that I was on to agree to let her fly on our flight direct instead of fly the connection.
Oh, my God.
But I couldn't get either of them to say it first. They both were like, yes, we'll do it if they'll do it. But nobody, and I was like, look, no, one of you has to say yes so that the other one will say yes. You will both say yes, but neither of you say yes first. But someone has to say it first for it to happen. And it's killing me going back and forth at the end of this terminal. And finally one of them said yes. So then she flew with us. So then we're on the plane. It was Rob, the drummer, who got arrested because we're on the plane. And she's sitting next to me, and they make the announcement of whatever, going to San Francisco. And she goes, San Francisco? I'm supposed to be flying I live in Los Angeles. And Rob was sitting across from me. He's like, dude, he kidnapped her. How cool is that?
How long have you guys been together now?
That was 93. So, yeah, so that's and just to add just nothing to the conversation, is the show was at Pink's Garage in Honolulu on my birthday in 1993.
Oh, wow.
So what's that? 93 is 24 years ago.
Wow. Congratulations.
So we got married in 95.
Oh, wow.
Which I proposed to her, that was our second date. I proposed to her on our sixth date, and she had this whole grandiose scheme of, big wedding girls. They like to be a fairy princess for the day. She hadn't graduated. She graduated from 8th grade. She graduated early from high school. She didn't go through ceremony, and she got in a bad car wreck, so she missed her college graduation. So she'd missed all of her things in life. So she wanted to have the big deal.
Right. And
I was like, cool, that works for me. And then she says to me, she's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, we've been talking about it's fine. And she goes, no, what do you want to do? And I go, just me, if it has nothing to do with you or anybody else. And she goes, yeah. I go, I'm going to get married this Saturday at my grandmother's church. And she's like, we can't do that. And I was like, all right. She's like, well, we couldn't do that. I'm like, why not? She's like, well, no one would be there. I go, well, my grandmother would probably go. She goes to church on Sunday. I'm sure she could make it a day earlier. I go, my parents live like 4 blocks away. And I go, your mom would make the drive. It's like 2 hours. I'm like, there you go. She's like, well, what about your brother and sister? I was like, they've been to 2 of my sister's weddings. It averages out. It's all good. She's like, we're not getting married Saturday. I was like, all right. So then we got married like a year and a half later. And we had our honeymoon in St. John. We got to the house, and I rented a house because I hate hotels. So we get to the house, and I turn the TV on, just like totally burnt out. And there's other dramas involved in the middle. Our wedding was a disaster in some ways, since it was outdoors and it rained. But,
sorry about that.
Well, what can you do?
Yeah,
I flipped into her Adventure Mother. It was all good. But I turned the TV on, and a Dodger game was on.
Oh,
it's like perfect. San Francisco born Dodger fan. And she sits down on the couch, and she's like, you were right. And I was like, I'm often right. What are we talking about? And she's like, we should have got married that Saturday at your grandmother's church.
What? It's just kind of like, well,
And all my other girlfriends, there's like this like timeline. It's like, oh, my boyfriend's a roadie. Yeah, my boyfriend's a roadie. Yeah, my boyfriend's a fucking roadie.
Right.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
It's like this arc. And it's reality. It's like, well, and it's easier too today, because back in those days, nothing existed. You couldn't talk all the time. There was long distance. Like, you don't even know what long distance is.
I have no idea.
You've never had a phone bill that had the words long distance on it.
Oh, I had to do the pay cards back in the day, where you had to go and pay like $50 for a card. But that was like right at the verge of when the internet was being like, oh, okay. Well,
like when I started my first European tour, I went with a yellow notebook and a pen. I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have a phone.
You just had a printout of all the places and numbers.
Yeah, and there wasn't even fax machines when I toured Europe the first time. There was a telex. And like fax machines, like everybody's had a fax machine. No, telexes were like a big deal. Somebody had a telex. It's like you would go to a telex place to send a telex.
Right.
And they would receive it and get it to the people you were sending it to. You couldn't communicate.
No comprehension of even what you're talking about.
Exactly. And that illustrates how it's like, like I don't have kids, and I love kids, and there's 24 kids in this country who call me Uncle Doug, who I'm not actually related to. And, you know, I'm an actual technical godfather to one of them, and I hope his dad doesn't fucking die, because then I'd have to raise a little fucking rugrat, who's 17 now, so I guess I don't have to worry about it anymore. But it's like, the thing is that I don't have kids. There's a specific point where I decided I wasn't going to have children, and I was sitting on a bus in Germany at a rest stop, like a, you know, travel plaza, gas station, all that shit, and I was in the front lounge of the bus, and one of the big, tough, heavy metal guys I'm on tour with is on the payphone outside plugging fucking Pfennigs into the phone, because before there was the euro, every country had, imagine if every state in America had a different currency.
Yeah.
That's what Europe was.
Yeah.
And it's the northeastern part of Europe, so it's like you only drove 40 miles and now you need a new currency, you know? And you have to go someplace to exchange it because nobody takes this one.
Right.
You know, it's like you go to Canada and people take both. But you come to the States and nobody takes both. Maybe at the borders a little bit.
Yeah, they do a little on the border.
But not very much beyond the border. In Canada, they'll take US all over, generally. You went to Denmark, they weren't taking fucking Swedish crowns from you.
No.
They don't want any Dutch guilders. There's none of that shit. It's like restaurants close by sometimes, touristy places. Amsterdam, you could use multiple currencies in places. There'd be a fucking chart. It's like in the airport today, you know, with all the fucking, and it was a shit exchange. You were better off going to exchange your money, you know, even though there was a fee, because ultimately they're killing you on exchange if you use the other currency. So it's like, you know, it's just a nightmare over there. So like having the coins to use the payphone was complicated.
Right.
You know? So there's this big heavy metal guy outside, and I kind of think I know who it was, but I honestly don't totally remember who it was. But it's somebody you would have heard of. And he's crying. And, you know, metal guys, we don't cry. So he gets off the phone and he's like wiping the tears away and getting all meddled again. So he gets on the bus, and he gets on the bus and he sees that I know that he was crying, but he doesn't say anything to me, but he kind of like hits me on the shoulder as he walks by into the back lounge or in the bunk or whatever, wherever he's going, you know. And I'm the only one on the bus, everyone else is inside, you know. So then everybody gets on and we drive on to points unknown. But what he missed something. I don't remember what it was, but it was like he missed like his son took his first steps or said a first word. It was something major. God, but back in those days, it was impossible, like literally impossible. You could be the most famous, most rich person in the whole world, and if you were in Germany and your kid was in, you know, wherever, you were not hearing, you know, maybe you could be on a phone to hear it a little bit, but realistically, you know, I don't know how old they are when they talk, 8 months. They're not waiting for the phone to go through to say the word. You know what I mean? It's a random thing. It just happens when it happens, and everyone goes, "Oh my God, he said his first word!" And it's like, and he missed it. So it was a bummer. And at that moment, I was like, "That will never be me." And that's why I don't have kids.
There you have it, the end of episode 3, part 1. I've just kind of, sorry I ended it there on a little bit on a somber note, but it's a little bit of a reality check of how things are on the road. Thanks again, everybody. Please check in next week when I release the second part to this episode with Doug Goodman. Appreciate you all supporting us. Please go and check out our Spotify, like it, and share it with your friends. Until next time, don't be a shit show.